Toyota's hydrogen-powered internal combustion engines have been said to be one of the most promising ways of powering vehicles in the future. And out of them, the most impressive one was the hydrogen V8 engine. Toyota promised us the world with it, telling us tales about its power and reliability, only for them to completely forget about it in the past few months. But why did this happen? And is there any way for Toyota to get back on track? Let's answer these questions and more as we uncover what happened to Toyota's hydrogen V8 engine. Before we tackle its problems, we have to take a look at what exactly this engine is. The engine in question is a derivative of the famous Toyota 5.0 V8, the same V8 that was used in the Lexus RC F. This granted Toyota a great starting point for the development of the hydrogen engine itself. Furthermore, to amplify how seriously Toyota took this venture, they also decided to collaborate with Yamaha when designing it. And we all know how fruitful their collaborations have been, as their previous projects included the legendary 2JZ engine and the mechanical marvel of the 4.8-liter V10 found in the LFA. As a result of this collaboration, Toyota and Yamaha managed to create a hydrogen-powered V8 engine that puts out a very respectable 444 horsepower, while also offering acres of torque. Not to mention that, according to Toyota's tests, the engine also proved to be incredibly reliable. Compared to the regular petrol-powered 5.0 V8, the hydrogen one needed some parts that would ensure reliability and longevity without any significant power losses. This included a change of spark plugs, hardened valves and valve seats, considerably stronger connecting rods, reinforced head gaskets, a higher voltage ignition coil, and many others. However, the most notable of these changes is the completely reworked fuel system. Since hydrogen isn't a liquid but rather a gas, the fuel system needed to be fully adapted to a gaseous fuel. This meant that the fuel tank had to be much different from the one found in regular vehicles, and the fuel injectors also had to be swapped out for ones that could use gas as fuel. In essence, the engine and fuel system are very similar to engines that use CNG and LPG, except for being even more complex. However, despite this complexity, Toyota and Mazda managed to create a prototype that isn't only functional but also very reliable. They intended to use this engine in Toyota's future sports cars, pickup trucks, and large SUVs. Unfortunately, as can be seen, we have yet to encounter a single vehicle fitted with this engine, which is why we have to ask ourselves, why did Toyota lose interest in hydrogen engines? Well, there are a couple of key reasons why Toyota decided to move away from hydrogen as a fuel. First of all, hydrogen itself is extremely hard to produce and store. Despite being the most abundant element in the universe, hydrogen is almost never found in its sole form. Rather, it exists as part of a compound. Now, separating an element from a compound usually isn't that big of a problem. However, hydrogen is highly reactive, meaning that extracting it requires extra caution, which results in higher production costs as well as longer production times. At the moment, hydrogen can be extracted using electrolysis and photoelectrolysis, which, as the name suggests, requires electric energy. And as we all know, electric energy is still being produced primarily by utilizing fossil fuels. This makes hydrogen's supposed virtues, eco-friendliness and abundance, technically worthless, as hydrogen itself is dependent on fossil fuels. Since this is the case, hydrogen also turns out to be more expensive for the buyer than regular fossil fuels, which once again defeats the economic advantages hydrogen was supposed to bring to the table. Additionally, since hydrogen is highly reactive, it requires very specific storage methods, both outside and inside the vehicle. When storing hydrogen outside the vehicle, the tanks must be armored, cooled, and kept at a constant temperature to prevent hydrogen from reacting. The tanks in the car are no different. They must be considerably larger than those found in regular vehicles, and require specific metals that do not corrode, as hydrogen is a highly corrosive gas. Furthermore, these tanks must also be armored to prevent hydrogen from escaping in the event of an accident. This severely increases the weight of the vehicle, not to mention that larger tanks take up more interior space. Toyota has already encountered this issue with the second-generation Toyota Mirai, which, despite being 5 meters long, offers less rear space than a Toyota Corolla. Hydrogen consumption. The increased weight means that hydrogen consumption will be higher than expected. Speaking of higher consumption, the hydrogen V8 engine has been known as quite a thirsty engine, especially compared to its petrol-powered counterpart. It's said that the hydrogen version tends to consume over 30% more fuel than the petrol-powered one, which is a massive hike. especially when you consider the fact that hydrogen is currently more expensive than petrol. So in essence, hydrogen vehicles simply aren't profitable for manufacturers. Even if they manage to make them reliable, people still wouldn't buy them because they're simply inferior to regular vehicles and EVs in virtually every way. Speaking of EVs, Toyota is finally starting to invest in developing them. Ever since Akio Toyoda stepped down from the CEO position in favor of Koji Sato, Toyota has completely shifted its focus in vehicle manufacturing and development. They almost immediately redirected their funds and R&D towards EVs and, as a result, loosened their interest in hydrogen vehicles. The truth is simple. EVs are far more popular, far more profitable, and at the moment, far more self-sustainable than hydrogen. Not to mention that, despite the immense pollution they generate during production and charging, EVs are still far greener than hydrogen. Honestly, the Toyota Mirai should tell you enough. It's been nothing but a headache for both customers and Toyota. It offered too little range, was too expensive, and running on hydrogen cost too much. Because of these reasons, Koji Sato and Toyota announced that in the next 10 years, they'll be focusing on offering as many EVs as possible, with some estimates stating that we could see up to 10 new EV models. Honestly, we're extremely sad that Toyota is lowering its interest in hydrogen, which is why we have to ask, is Toyota completely abandoning hydrogen? Believe it or not, no they aren't. Even though the future of hydrogen seems grim at the moment, Toyota won't be abandoning it. They know that hydrogen has massive future potential. Despite its current flaws, hydrogen still shows more promise than both electric energy and fossil fuels. Toyota is not the only company searching for better hydrogen solutions. The entire industry understands how incredibly important hydrogen is for the future, not just for cars, but for humanity as a whole. Hydrogen could be used not only as a fuel, but also as a general energy source, for heating, electricity, and more. That's why numerous hydrogen farms have begun construction in recent years. Even Saudi Arabia's upcoming megacity, Neom, will run on completely emission-free hydrogen produced through green means. Furthermore, the megaton moon plant currently under construction in Mauritania will be the world's largest green hydrogen plant. So, what is currently happening with Toyota's hydrogen engines? Just as the regular petrol-powered engine served as a foundation for the hydrogen 5.0 V8, the hydrogen variation has laid a foundation for future developments. Toyota has started developing a new engine that will overcome the biggest problems of hydrogen storage and production. Instead of storing pure hydrogen, Toyota is working on an engine that will separate hydrogen from its compounds right before injection. This eliminates the need for massive tanks and lowers fuel costs significantly. To develop this engine, Toyota has partnered with the Chinese company GAC. Their solution? Ammonia. Ammonia is far safer, less polluting, and much easier to work with than hydrogen. The engine they've developed already produces 161 horsepower, impressive for a naturally aspirated 2.0-liter i4. If you'd like to learn more, be sure to check out this video.